Hi, everybody. Mo Davis. Not feeling great, but it's all good. I just wanted to touch on something. So there's a lot of arguments saying, well, Egyptians are racist, Egyptians are racist, Egyptians are racist. Yeah, there's a lot of racism in every country that is taught within the social and educational systems. Um, but here's what you guys aren't even considering. The Egyptians that are racist towards dark skinned people are also discriminatory against themselves. There's a lot of self hatred for you to be hateful against anyone with dark skin and curly hair or textured hair if many of your own people have dark skin and curly or textured hair. For those of you unaware, Egypt has been colonized a lot. And when most of the colonial countries and all of the colonizers have lighter skin than you, for example, Middle East, England, France, um, Persia, Rome, um, eventually there's going to be a complex in regards to the traits of the general public, of the general people. We see it here in North America. Like, stop acting like the standard of beauty here wasn't pin skinny with absolutely no body curve for the longest time, absolutely negating the existence of anybody who wasn't pin straight hair and pin skinny with no curve. This is ingrained within our society due to years of self hatred through colonialism. You know this because when you go to a pharmacy or a beauty place, lightening skin treatments are still a thing. Egyptians get their hair pressed regularly to this day. I think the curly hair movement only started, I want to say, 5, maybe 6 years ago in Egypt, where curly haired girls could wear their hair and be proud of it. I know when I would go and visit my family, I would wear my hair curly, and I would get, comments on the street about, wow, she's so well dressed, but look at her hair. Like, why isn't she going and getting her hair done? And why isn't she? You have to understand that there's a lot more complexity when you're talking about racialized individuals and victims of colonialism. You have to understand that racism is a very different thing, and discrimination is a very different thing than when it's perpetuated by white privileged cultures. There is a difference. And this isn't to justify. Um, I don't think it's appropriate. I also don't think a lot of the homophobic comments going towards Mr. Owens are appropriate at all. That is a combination of religious fundamentalism and, unfortunately, ignorant cultural practices. Again, I don't currently live in Egypt. I have had the privilege of, unfortunately, being raised in a white dominated land as basically the only Egyptian for most of my life, if not the main person of color, racialized individual for most of my life and most of my childhood. So I have a very isolated experience. And when I look at this, I can look at this from a different lens. But you can't just come in and say, well, Egyptians are racist against all black people. Really, in actuality, Egyptians are discriminating against themselves when our reference of beauty is light skin and blue eyes. And how many desert people do you know whose gene pool is pure that have blue eyes? I'd like to know, like, really though, because there aren't many. If you test our genetics, we're still predominantly North African. It literally comes out like if you were to take a swab and send it to whatever it is, those companies you can send to, the majority of your genetic composition is going to be North African as an Egyptian. You're going to have a small percentage of Nigerian due to colonialism, and Mali due to colonialism, or just culture, and sub-Saharan culture went up as well and came into Egypt. But even Sudanese are genetically more similar to Egyptians than they are to West Africans. So it like You really have to take into consideration the full picture of things and really understand on a global spectrum what is happening in order to be able to have an educated understanding of what is happening and not just come out and say Egyptians are racist. Egyptians have been subjected to propaganda. There's likely ignorance there, but Egyptians are also incredibly fed up with our culture being appropriated and misrepresented in the West. We're also not Arab. And see, here's where I grossly disagree with Bassem Youssef, and a lot of people do, is that we are not white and we are not Arab. So just learn a little bit more about it, please.